If someone offered you the chance to receive life-changing ideas for the price of a single meal, would you take it?
Exactly 2 years ago, I picked up reading as a means to solve some of the problems I was having with my first ever business. I did not know a single thing about finance, business, or marketing an idea to other people. In fact, I didn't even know what I didn't know. You know that feeling? And before that point, the idea of reading in my own time really disgusted me. I mean, I was already expected to read textbooks and articles throughout school and university, which left little time for me to socialize, travel, and play sports. So why on earth would I spend my free time reading more, right? But it was only when I spoke to a few good friends of mine who were also starting their businesses that they all told me the same thing, to start reading books. And they said it like I was an idiot for even asking the very questions I was asking without having read any type of books first. And that's when I thought to myself, okay, I'll give it a try. Now, a couple side notes. When I mention reading in this video, I mean getting information from a book into my head, whether that be through a physical book or an audiobook. Also, almost every book I've read in the last 2 years has been non-fiction, like self-help and business related, etc. So the points I'll be making in this video are largely related to non-fiction as opposed to fiction. Okay, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out that books introduce you to new ideas, but I wanted to dig a little deeper. Now, new ideas introduce you to new or different ways of thinking. When you think differently or from someone else's perspective, your life quite literally changes. Suddenly, conversations that would have gone over your head start to make sense. The nerdy guys that you had nothing in common with become friends that you can discuss ideas with. And this friend introduces you to another, and eventually, before you know it, you've got an additional circle of like-minded people who want to learn more. And these people are often readers too, so they're constantly discussing ideas and concepts as opposed to people and events. So eventually you start to follow suit. From there, you might also discover that a fraction of these people are not only learning from these books, but also putting these lessons into action. And these are the go-getters, the ones who find and create opportunities. They knock on doors and bring you along with them. And within no time, you look around and your world is completely different. You've got these new friends because now you've got more in common. The information you consume online has completely changed. And your social media changes from celebrities to individuals who provide real value. So books don't just introduce you to life-changing ideas, they also set up a chain reaction of events and relationships that quite literally change your life. When I started my first business, I didn't know where exactly to start. In fact, I didn't even know what I needed to know. I started to read some of the best-selling books in the business category just to get a well-rounded idea on certain topics. Very quickly, I started to appreciate that reading gave me access to world-class experts from almost every field that I could think of. And if somebody's doing amazing work, then they'll likely summarize it all into a book at some point during their lives, or somebody else will do it for them. Now, there's so many amazing things about this one specific point. Firstly, you don't need to personally know the expert. The knowledge is as accessible to you as it is to their closest friends. And often this very knowledge is something that has inspired or influenced other great people. Also, the authors don't have to live close by for you to have access to their books. Books and audiobooks these days are location independent. You can learn from Russia's best scientists or America's best CEOs from the comfort of your living room. And books are incredibly cheap when you think about the return on that investment. And for the price of a single meal, sometimes you're getting access to an expertly written and published summary of valuable content, which is sometimes taking years to make. And you can never get that sort of information from live courses for the same price because the expert's time is usually worth hundreds, if not thousands more. So life-changing mentors are just a book away. One of the best things about reading is that it's a personalized experience for every reader. Now, obviously, the book itself doesn't change, but how it's consumed is different, and ultimately, what's understood from the book is completely unique for every independent reader. Now, I mention this because traditionally, we grow up learning in environments where there's a lot of people being taught at the same time, like schools or universities. And that's not a completely personalized experience because, inevitably, your understanding is skewed by how the people around you understand things to be. And with or without knowing it, our learning is very heavily influenced by the social aspects of our learning environment. In other words, you don't get to completely think for yourself because other people are thinking out loud for you. So during classes, if my mind might naturally wander in this direction when I hear a particular idea or concept, but 10 other people drift in that direction, I might also drift in that direction as a result. And so in this way, you're cheated out of unique and original thinking. And so when I read some of these books alone, it's completely tailored to me. I take away a completely different message to every other reader. And I'll focus on completely different concepts and chapters than others might do. And certain parts of the book might trigger a chain of thoughts for specific situations that I'm in or a problem that I'm experiencing. And so ultimately you begin to think a lot more independently and develop a unique journey that no one else can take away from you. Through reading self-help books every week for over a year, I was able to solidify my stance on what I wanted in life, why I wanted it, and what I was and was not willing to do to get it. A good self-help book feels like you're having a conversation with a friend at a coffee shop. And when it feels like a conversation that is without judgment or condescension, that becomes a recipe for introspection. So each and every book that I was reading was helping to reveal a little bit more about myself. And this is important because when something or someone makes you question why you do what you do, you begin to think about trying new things and experimenting with the things you already do. And the key word here is experimenting. And experimenting is a brilliant word because it implies that you're going to be trying new things, but it doesn't mean that you're going to leave all the old stuff behind. And so a constant input of wisdom in the form of books leads to experimentation in all aspects of your life. Before I was reading, I was basically the exact same person for years and years at a time. Now it feels like every 6 months I'm a significantly different person than I was before those 6 months. And I attribute a large proportion of that change to the books that I've been privileged enough to read. So it's no exaggeration when I say that reading has and is still changing my life. If you want to get started too but find it difficult to stick to physical books, try audiobooks. I've got a terribly short attention span, so that's exactly how I got back into reading as well. If you're still not convinced, check out my weekly motivational newsletters on the topic of personal growth and self-improvement. You can find all the previous editions via the link in the description below. I write every week to over 500 subscribers, so if you like what I write about, then maybe you might like what I read too. I'll also leave a reading list of some of the titles that I recommend, so if you like the sound of one, check it out. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy this video and I'll see you in the next one. And within no time, you look around and your world is completely